Welcome back into Thimbleberry U. I'm John Jacquet, joined again by Amy Wallace from Thimbleberry Financial. Amy, good to be with you as always.
Jag, it's great to be talking to you.
We're talking about a topic today that in today's climate is more relevant than ever, and that is the importance of a password manager. I just started using one, and full disclosure, it's because my Facebook got hacked, and I freaked out and realized I need to start getting my stuff a lot more secure. So let's start here for our listeners, Amy. What is a password manager?
Yeah, I'm glad you started with this question because there are a lot of misconceptions around what one is and what one isn't. Mm-hmm. In the way we're talking about it today, it's a software program or app that helps you both generate and store unique passwords for your online accounts. What it isn't is a Excel file, whether password protected or not, or a list kept in a book or under your keyboard at home.
And I know many people that do that with the little booklet, but this is really the better way to do it now is to use one of these specialized programs to do it. So let's get into some of the benefits of these programs.
The first benefit, which is why, the Excel file and the list at home don't work, is that a password manager generates secure and unique passwords. Safety is the goal.
Yeah.
And so some might say, well, gosh, nobody can hack my list at home. But the reality is, if you're writing these down and you're coming up with your passwords yourself, one, they are not likely unique. You're probably using them over again. And if you're not, they're probably not as hard to hack as something randomly generated.
You're sticking something like a birth date or a pet's name or something like that in there that, maybe it's the same questions your bank asks you when you go to log into your website. It's stuff that people with a little bit of ingenuity can probably figure out eventually. So,
yes.
And yeah, they're not unique because you're repeating the same stuff over and over again. And I've been guilty of that. I admit it.
Yep. I love my dog Daisy. Just, isn't safe.
Good to know that none of your passwords include Daisy's name anymore. How do these apps safely store your passwords?
Yes. So they store it in a secure virtual vault. And the benefit of that to you as a user is that you only have one strong password to remember.
I can't tell you how many memes I've seen over the last couple of weeks where it's like, you want me to how many characters and you want me to do what? And I have to remember it. And how am I supposed to remember this when I log in and all these things? You don't have to remember it. All I have to remember is your one password for that app.
Exactly. And then for everything that it's storing internally, what you can expect, although you want to check out whatever password manager you're considering using, the passwords should be stored in an encrypted state, which means on their end, too, they don't have access to see the password.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. And then many of the sites are using multi-factor authentication, too. So you may need to be using your phone in addition to get in, or at least to some of the sites.
Yeah, I know, for example, the one that I use, I have on my computer, but I also have it on my phone. And for my computer, every time I restart my computer, if I try to access it, I have to use that master key password to get into the app. And then if I need to refer back to it a few minutes later, it still asks me for a PIN to open it again. Like that two-factor authentication adds that extra level of security, and same deal when I'm accessing it on my phone.
Yeah.
For example, I use Chrome on my computer, but I have an iPhone, and sometimes I use Chrome and sometimes I use Safari. So rather than storing it in a browser, which is not nearly as safe, if it's all saved in this one password manager or application that is shared between my phone and my computer in the same account, I'm in much better shape.
You absolutely are. Jag, with what you're talking about, this is something that I think is really important. When looking for a password manager, you want one that can talk across all your devices. If you've got some Apple products and some not, you want something that's going to work. So an example I've used with clients in talking about this is traveling, right? If you're traveling and you lose a list because you're carrying that with you so that you'd be able to get into your bank accounts, your credit card, or what have.
Oh, yeah.
Now you've got a mess because you're going to spend your vacation trying to shut everything down. If in this case, it's talking across devices and you lose a device, well, you can actually go into the password manager and you should be able to shut off access to that device and still have access to your passwords and sites so you can check on things or go in and change certain passwords if you feel the need to do so.
We've all heard horror stories of somebody who's lost a wallet or in more contemporary times a phone and the nightmare that ensues there, and this can mitigate some of that.
Absolutely.
And actually, it was my cousin who works in IT that suggested I use the password manager that I'm using now. And I said, well, my phone offers just to store all this stuff. He goes, well, listen, whether you're using Apple or Google or Microsoft or whoever, are they a security company or are they a data company? And I went, oh, that's a really good point. By using one of these dedicated password managers, you are working with an entity whose sole purpose is security.
You are. The other thing that I've heard some folks in security talk about is you generally want to pay for the tools you're using. Because if you're using something free, like off of Chrome or Google or whatever, like you said, they're collecting data. They're getting something out of offering the service for free versus when the service is paid.
You might not be paying in cash, but you might be paying in data.
Yes.
Give me some other benefits of some of these password managers, Amy.
Yeah. So we all fill out a lot of forms online. One of the things I love about my password manager is it pre-fills my username and passwords on the sites I visit, right? And that's generally expected. Mm-hmm. And it may also be able to complete other fields on web forms for you. Mm-hmm. So just by using it, as long as I have it open on my computer, for example, since that's, where I'm at work and using it, when I open those sites, it knows and it pre-fills everything. Now I shut it down when I'm going away from my computer or overnight, that type of thing.
Yep.
But when I'm sitting there, it just makes it easy to get logged into everything.
I booked a hotel room this morning and it was very easy and very user-friendly. Yep.
Yes. It can store other documents. So there's places that I can put important things that if something happened to me, think of it as an online safe deposit box.
Okay.
Right? So I can put those documents in there so they're safe. Maybe that's a great place to keep a copy of your estate planning documents.
Yes, absolutely.
And some information. Your credit card details.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you are somewhere, let's say you're traveling again and you lose your credit card, you don't have to think about who to call or what's the number or what's happening. Like you can go in and it's all stored securely.
Exactly. Okay.
One feature that I love both at work and personally is the ability to share passwords.
Okay.
So there are things that I share with my team because I'm the one who sets up the login and they need to be able to have access to it. But also same thing with my family, right? My daughter is 14 years old. One of the rules of her technology is that we have the ability to access that.
I like that.
So a password manager is a way that we know we have access into her tools, the things she's using.
As I've started to set this up, I have the master account under me, and then I have shared passwords for stuff that my wife and I will use. Then I have, stuff that's individual that only I would use. And again, to your point, if you trust one of these password managers to work with your team with sensitive information and financial data that you work with, if it's good enough for you in your office, it's good enough for me and my family.
We take security seriously, yes. Overall, Jag, when we talk about benefits, the whole goal of a password manager and managing passwords and logins and all of this, it's just to stay safe.
Yeah.
It's awful to be hacked. But one of the things I do love about the password manager is not only all the things we've already talked about, but it lets you know if you're using weak passwords or you're reusing a password.
Ooh, I like that. Okay.
It'll let you know if some of your sites and passwords have been part of a data breach.
That's huge.
Absolutely. So you'll mine just sends an email that says, hey, this password has been compromised. And then to go in and change it.
Or there was a data breach at XYZ store that you have a password at. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yes.
Talk to me about the emergency access feature. This is important too as we, think about the unpredictable.
Oh, this is, I think, one of the most overlooked features. And I won't say the most valuable features, but it really is important. A good password manager has an emergency access feature, which means you have the ability to share passwords with an emergency contact after a waiting period.
Okay.
So, Jag, let's say that you are my executor, the executor of my estate. Okay.
Okay.
you don't need to have all my passwords now, right? I'm fine. I'm doing fine. But we don't know if I'm going to get hit by a bus later today or tomorrow or 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
So in my password manager, I can go in and designate you as a person that should get access to all of my passwords or some of my passwords. I can actually choose if I have not accessed my password manager for a number of days that I have set. So maybe that's 2 weeks, because even if I'm on vacation, I'm going to access it.
Yeah. You and I are both workaholics like that. Yep, absolutely.
Yep. Well, and it's not just work. It's my personal things that are in there too, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
And so if that's the case, if I haven't logged in 2 weeks, something big is really happening. So what would happen is my password manager, when I haven't logged in those 15 days, is going to send me an email saying, hey, we haven't seen you log in. Is everything okay? And in X amount of time, we are going to give access to Jag.
Okay.
Because he's the person you named. And so is this what you want to have happen? Please log in. If not. And when I don't log in, it's going to send that information to you so that you can get access.
That's a really great feature. Okay.
It's very important because if someone's in a coma or someone's passed away, people need access.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of times where we've found that access is really needed. One is simply shutting down social media accounts.
Yeah.
After a period of time. Otherwise, they're going to stay out there indefinitely. Another is cryptocurrency.
Huh.
Okay, because it's all digital. This is one we've heard about many times, is that a spouse or significant other, a family member knows that there's crypto, but does not know how to access it.
That is something that is so new that it wouldn't have even occurred to me. I'm really glad you brought that up.
And then third, that ties to that is with everything happening electronically now, an executor or family doesn't actually know easily where all the accounts are. It used to be that you just watch the mail for 3 months, 6 months, and definitely within a year, any accounts would have sent a statement.
Not true anymore.
But now if they're all going to email, you don't know. And so the password manager is a quick and easy way to find all of those accounts.
All right, so you mentioned earlier, Amy, that obviously these are not free because if you're not paying money for it, you're paying with your data. How much do these things typically cost?
First of all, the free ones are not as robust as the paid versions typically. So most are some in the neighborhood of $30 to $40 a year.
Okay.
And that's for a premium plan. So not a lot, especially given the features that we've just talked about and keeping you safe.
I got to imagine that as a financial advisor with the obvious connections here, this is something that you talk to your clients about.
It is. In fact, this was so important to us that in 2021, we made sure we talked to every client group about this and encouraged them to set them up if they had not, especially given that we work so much in tech and healthcare. Many of them had already done it because security is a big deal. Mm-hmm. Interestingly, almost no one had set up those emergency features.
People don't want to deal with their own mortality. People don't want to think about it.
Well, that's part of it. Many didn't realize it existed.
That's also a significant issue. Okay.
They thought about it just being a tool to help them log in and, generate random passwords and stay safe from that vantage point. But they hadn't thought about what happens if something happened to them.
I can tell you from experience when I had this issue, I think it was a month or two ago with my Facebook, and I said, okay, you know what? I'm not storing anything on my computer anymore. I'm going to use this secure program to do it. I looked in my browser on my laptop and it said, you have, I forget it was 300 or 400 passwords stored. And it was like fast food ordering, department stores that I order a shirt from once a year, like all these little things. I actually had stuff stored in there from stuff I log into from radio stations I worked at 10 years ago. So much information can be stored in your browser if you just don't think about it and click yes over a period of years. It was really eye-opening to me to see, wow, all this stuff is out there, all my access to all these things, and none of it is secure. That was kind of wake-up call. So I started going through and deleting all the stored passwords from my browser, including the stuff that I don't even have access to anymore from old jobs. and using this. And now I'm kind of migrating everything over when there is a new website that I don't have the password to, reset the password, use it. And it's a little bit tedious in the beginning for the initial setup, but I am so glad I'm doing it. And I feel so much better about my security online at a time when your data and your privacy is very, very valuable to a lot of bad actors.
I'm really glad that you did that. One of the things too, Jag, that I really like that was very subtle in what you said is that you did it over time. So as I've talked to folks about this, one of the obstacles or challenges to setting this up is they feel like they need to go take this list that they have somewhere and sit down in one fell swoop and enter it all.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just overwhelming. It's not what actually needs to happen. If somebody has the time and energy for that, terrific. But what really can happen is go in and pick, for example, your computer. For the next little while, whenever you try to log into things, you're going to try to log in from your computer. And I say that because, one, it's just harder to set things up on your phone. And I've found like the app to the password manager I use, if I set something up on my phone, it doesn't turn on and doesn't save things automatically in the same way my computer does. So with that said, if you go into your computer as you are about to buy something online, for example, or check a bank account, sit down at your computer and access it that way, reset the password if you need to, and then your password manager, as long as it's open, can just store as you go, and eventually everything will get migrated into it.
Right. And there are some people who use, phones more so than a computer. And if different strokes for different folks, if it works for you to do it on your phone, it's certainly possible. I can tell you from my experience, I would agree with what you said, and that for me personally, like you, it was easier to do it on the computer. It was easier for me to interact with setting it up on the computer and then let it sync over to my phone with the app. But again, it's not a hard and fast rule. The point is making everything secure.
Yes, absolutely. And that you don't have to do it all in one fell swoop.
No, I think I deleted a bunch of stuff. I sat there for an hour and deleted a bunch of stuff, and now it was okay. So now that it's not stored in my browser on my computer, anytime I log into it, hey, the password's not stored. Okay, one more to add to it. It takes 30 seconds and you're done.
Yes.
Really important stuff today, Amy. Again, this is timely for me because I just had a situation, like I said, with my Facebook account that really spooked me, and I wanted to make sure I locked down all my online presence with stuff. And you never know what's happening out there in the world as far as who's trying to access your information, because it's valuable to a lot of people. So I'm glad we had this talk today. If you want to talk to Amy about this or anything regarding your financial future, in general, your financial planning, best ways to find you and the team at Thimbleberry?
Please give us a call at 503-610-6510 or find us online at thimbleberryfinancial.com.
I'm going to go secure some more websites upstairs, and I'll talk to you in a couple weeks, Amy.
Sounds great, Jag. Talk to you then.
Registered representative, securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer, member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisor representative, Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Thimbleberry Financial are not affiliated.